Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, FP Santalangelo Jr., Russell Jackman, and hopefully Vern Glenn will join us later on. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question, and today's theme is NFL firsts. So we'll see.
So, in other words, we're talking about guys with leather helmets.
No.
No shoulder pads.
Not that kind of first. No, it'll be guys who did certain things in the NFL.
Newt Rockne and so forth,
and Jim Thorpe and
Fred Scheffelfinger.
That's right, and Bronco Nagurski. No, we're not going back that far. Don't worry, you guys will have heard of all of these players. All right, and when we come back, we're going to talk Aaron Rodgers. Kind of interesting with that situation. Little Odell Beckham. Unfortunately, of course, we have to talk a little bit about Henry Ruggs. A little bit about Steph Curry. I also want to bring up, again, this is if we have time for all this stuff, NFL refs being a little bit too quick to blow the penalties, I think. And, that was crazy with the helmet-to-helmet against the Bengals, I think it was, right, with the Jets a couple of weeks ago. It's like, they got to review these calls. And
then a lot of people are furious about last night's call against the Bears.
Exactly, and that's one of the things I wanted to go over also. And then we also have potentially the Ben Simmons saga continuing. All right, every time we ask a trivia question, we want the audience to email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer, and we'll see if you know it. And this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, still providing mortgage investments currently yielding over 7%, secured by real estate. Doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. All right, stay with us. You are listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with FP Santangelo Jr. and Russell Jackman. Vern hasn't shown up yet, but maybe he will. All right, let's start off with who wants Odell Beckham? Now, by the time the show airs, he'll probably have been picked up, but go ahead, Russ.
Mrs. Odell Beckham? I mean, other than that, I'm not quite sure who else really wants Odell. I mean, he's really showing himself to be the modern-day Randy Moss, you know, all the talent in the world, and nobody wants to have him on their team.
Or who was the other one? Terrell Owens, who was drama coming on it. Yeah, because that's the thing.
To be fair to Terrell Owens, he stayed on the 49ers at least for like 6 or 7 seasons.
Yeah, that's true. So, okay, let's look at Odell. He was awesome when he was with the Giants. Obviously, the famous catch, the fingertip catch. And then did he get hurt and then go to Cleveland, or did he go to Cleveland and get hurt?
I think he went to Cleveland and got hurt.
Gotcha. Okay. So he goes to Cleveland, doesn't really do too much, but gets hurt, and then it was an ACL, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you got to think these guys coming back from an ACL, I don't know. I mean, I can see them being definitely kind of gun shy. That's a pretty long-term, painful rehab.
The word shy and Odell Beckham don't belong in the same sentence.
But he definitely lost a step, don't you think?
Well, if you look at him this season, he's got 17 receptions and 232 yards. He's averaging 13.2 yards per carry or reception. But if you look at the targets, he had 34 targets and he only caught 17 of those. So that to me is more of a chemistry thing, maybe between Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. But if you just look anywhere he's gone so far in his career, it just really hasn't panned out. And I don't know if this is so much of a Baker Mayfield thing as it is an Odell Beckham Jr. thing. Of course, the thing that went viral was the video of Odell's dad posting all these wide open plays of Odell running these routes wide open, and Baker essentially just looking him off. So there was something there. I think there's two sides to every story, but whoever has Odell by now, because I think he's going to get claimed in about an hour from this podcast being recorded, hopefully they're going to be happy with him. And I think they're going to actually use him a lot, whichever team gets him right now. And you're going to see some Odell highlights, and everyone in Cleveland's going to be like, why didn't this happen? Well, maybe he just wasn't a good fit. And that happens a lot in sports.
Yeah, but don't you think, like with Baker Mayfield, especially being a quarterback, don't you think he wants, especially playing for Cleveland too, don't you think he's more interested in winning than it is, well, no, I'm not going to throw to him because I don't like him. I mean, that's, junior high stuff.
Well, there's big egos. Everybody in that room is an alpha. That's how it is at any single professional level. The NHL, MLB, NFL, you name it, they're alphas in that room, and they got big egos. And maybe Odell said something that kind of made Baker Mayfield, or maybe he just carries himself a certain way that kind of rubs Baker Mayfield the wrong way. Maybe he thinks he's fake. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it that we don't know. This is all speculative, but we know that their relationship's not good. We know that. Oh. So something must have happened, and these relationships are extremely fragile, and we've seen it throughout baseball.
As my history professor used to say to me, Russ, consider the source. And, when you see the fact that Odell didn't get along with the Giants, he didn't get along in Cleveland, after a little while, you start thinking, it's not necessarily all the other team's fault. There's got to be something about it with the way he conducts himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't be bouncing from team to team.
Absolutely. And obviously, if a situation's bad all the time, look at yourself, look inward, and you're probably the reason for it. So that's absolutely a possibility. But we're going to see some Odell highlights this season. Trust me. They're going to use him a lot.
He won't be for the 49ers. The 49ers already said, despite all the injuries and all the fact that, that they have lack of depth at wide receiver, they still said they don't want Odell. So that says something in both sides.
Well, I mean, they got George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel. They're pretty good with the receiver core now. They just got.
Do they really have Brandon Ayuk? I mean, they didn't play him for,
Oh, yeah, he did really well last game. He had a fumble.
And then he got hurt again. But he got hurt on the sidelines. Who knows if he'll play against the Rams?
He's okay. He's going to play.
I think if I were Baker Mayfield, I would have thrown the ball to Odell at least once extra and then say, look, see, I threw it to you. Now shut up and let's play ball, because I think, a lot of teams have to really consider what happens in the locker room and the chemistry between the players. It's not just, we've got a superstar, potential, which he's not quite the same, again, as he was when he was with the Giants. How old is he now, Odell?
Odell, I think he's 30.
Okay. All right. Well,
let me double check that real quick.
Still got a couple of good years left in him. Tell you what, let's move on a little bit here. So Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
So, okay, the story, if I remember correctly, is because it's been a little while now. So he said he was vaccinated, but it turned out he wasn't. Was that?
Well, he faked it. He said he was immunized, meaning that he already had COVID. He said that he built up the antibodies, plus he took some hoochie coochie crazy homeopathic deal and declared himself safe from COVID. And of course, then he came down with it a second time. And I can say this: I have never in my lifetime seen a guy go from being where he was when he won the MVP from last season to where he is now as quickly as Aaron Rodgers has. He's gone
he's still a really good football player. Let's not forget that. Just because he tried to mislead some people so that way he can do things his own way, as every quarterback does within their organization, doesn't mean he's not good. He's still an MVP caliber player. He misled a lot of people, and it's very unfortunate this route he's going down, because he's really just misleading the public too with a lot of misinformation. And he's using words like witch hunt and cancel culture and things that really don't apply to him.
Exactly. But look at where he was right after he won the MVP. For the first he did Jeopardy and everybody hated him. Second, he then, went around and said he wanted to be traded and that, he was going to hold out. Then, the league bends over backwards, and so do the Green Bay Packers, to let him lie to the public, let him sit through press conferences without a mask. Now, there's one thing about, getting in there and playing when you aren't vaccinated, but it's another thing to hold press conferences without a mask. There's absolutely no reason that he should have been able to do that.
But there are still people who are getting vaccinated and getting COVID. It's not like
right. So wear a mask.
And that's a different thing than the
when you're in a room full of people. You see, here's the problem that I really have is that he may have infected dozens of people that wind up infecting hundreds, if not thousands of people throughout his press conferences.
But
We'll
don't you
never
think?
know.
Yeah, but even people who get vaccinated get COVID, so they can infect people. What are you saying?
Right. So the last thing you
want.
want to do is hang out in a room with somebody who doesn't get vaccinated and won't wear a mask. That's the last thing that.
Well, yeah, it's easier to
done.
spread. But what I was interested about this though is that State Farm, even though they didn't agree with his remarks and all that about vaccination, they're still standing by him. You know, it's interesting because a lot of these companies, when this
I heard that they're
happens,
using
they
Pat
jump right
Mahomes.
away.
I heard they're using Pat Mahomes in every spot where they were going to have Aaron Rodgers. They've replaced him with Pat Mahomes.
Probably just for right now, but I guarantee you, as the NFL clockwork goes, these things get buried under the rug.
Yeah.
The NFL has a lot of power, and they're going to make sure their golden boy, who has a golden ticket, by the way, that is a very real thing in sports. It happens in the NBA, happens in Major League Baseball. You can actually probably point out these players. They get the golden ticket, which means they can do whatever they want.
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, everybody loves Mahomes. You know, I say that kind of a generalization. Everybody loves Mahomes, and he does great in those commercials. It's just really kind of cute. Hey, guys, we're going to go to our first commercial break here. We're talking NFL firsts. All right, the nice and simple question here. You ready for this, Russ? Who was the first quarterback to throw for 5,000 yards in a season? Pretty simple question, right? No, it's not a trick question or anything like that, because Russ always wonders, being in the attorney that he is there a trick behind this question? No, it's just a normal question. Who was the first quarterback to throw for 5,000 yards in a season? And I'll give you a hint. It happened after 1940. Okay?
Good.
Right? You know, he always hates when they give him all these old history stuff.
Yes.
Listen, FP's younger than both of us, so we'll see if he knows this one. All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101 is going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with FP Santangelo Jr. and Russell Jackman. Still no Vern yet, but we're going to really jump in later on. Okay, here's our first trivia question. Who was the first quarterback to throw for 5,000 yards in a season?
I'm going to guess Dan Marino.
That is correct.
Oh, that was my guess.
That was your guess. Okay, I knew FP.
Got to move quick there, FP.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Tom Brady as a joke, but I knew it was Dan.
No, he's the first one to throw for 75,000 yards in a season.
But I'm going to say this: Dan Marino is slowly fading into obscurity because of how, you know, 5,000 yards doesn't mean so much.
Well, also he never won the big one. You know,
he
only I think he only got into one Super Bowl
against Joe Montana. His misfortune to have to play Joe Montana.
Yeah.
And,
well, now, guys, with 17 games now on the NFL schedule, you're going to see a lot of these records get eclipsed, and it's irrelevant. It's kind of sad, and that's why a lot of players didn't want a 17-game schedule, because it really throws off the record book. And that's something.
You think? Oh, was that the reason, or they just 17 games? They get hurt. You know, they get sore every week.
That too, but
they get paid.
The record book. Everyone's on pace to break every record available because of the extra game.
Well, look what happened when
they get paid for an actual game instead of a preseason game, which a lot of these guys don't bother to play. Mm-hmm. So
but they just spread out your salary amongst the various games. But in fact, the year, if I remember correctly, the year that they changed the baseball from 154 games to 162 was the same year that Roger Maris broke Babe Ruth's record.
Ooh.
Yeah, 61.
Hence the asterisk.
Yeah. Well, that's what they say.
Asterisk.
Yeah. Okay. It's a tough one, but we got to talk a little bit about Henry Ruggs. And who's the other guy? Who's the other Raider who got?
That
was an old situation.
Alston, something like that. Yeah. So, man, I'm looking at Henry Ruggs' situation and going, what can teams do, or mentors, whoever, to talk to these guys ahead of time to get them to stop with this kind of behavior? Because
make them buy used Yugos.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, they won't get 156 miles per hour out of a used Yugo. I don't know if you know what
So I can speak on this. So what they do in college, and Henry Ruggs came from the University of Alabama, they sit you down and they put you in a classroom, tell you how you should go about your life on social media and outside, and how you should carry yourself. Don't drink and drive, all these things, right?
Okay.
In the NFL, Once you go to a new team, somebody sits down with you, tells you not to drink and drive, do all these things correctly. Don't post this on social media. Don't do that. Make sure people aren't trying to come after your money. Be smart with this. Be smart with that. In the NFL, they even tell you we have a no questions asked ride service that we've made contracts with Uber, Lyft, all these different companies, and we will not use that information against you. So if you're doing something like you're not supposed to be doing, like being out till 3 a.m. at a club, or being at some girl's house you're not supposed to be at while you have a wife, we will not disclose that information to anybody. And still, this happened with Henry Ruggs. So this is not so much of an NFL problem.
Gotcha.
This is a Henry Ruggs problem.
Good point. And also you got to figure a lot of times, how they grow up with their parents. You need in fact, our guest next week will be Michael Boulware. I met him at a business meeting, and he just seems like the sweetest, nicest guy, and came from a strong 2-parent home, and they raised him well. It's like, I guess, like Steph Curry seems to have been raised in a good home. You just don't hear any bad things about him, and so I don't know anything about Henry Ruggs' home life. Did he come from tough beginnings?
I'm unsure about that, but I think there was something in his past where it's either his brother or his best friend got in a drunk driving accident as well, and had some damage to their car, or got a DUI or something like that. So you guys remember Kevin Mitchell for the Giants, and then I think it was with the Mets also. And he grew up apparently in San Diego, which is, you don't think much about that, but he grew up in a bad neighborhood, and yet and he still kept in touch with a lot of those guys, and they say, bad morals corrupt good ones. Good ones don't get the bad ones to change. That seems to always be the case. You look at guys though, like the running back for the Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch, right? Who comes from Oakland, really rough area in Oakland, and he's still just a solid guy, does everything right, tries to give it back to the community. So that excuse is kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of out the window for me.
Oh yeah,
you're right. 156 miles per hour. 156.
Yep.
I had a Corvette, and I can only go up to 146. So I don't know how they got that. No, I did have a Corvette, but I never took it that fast. I think I went 95 one time, but I didn't do it in a residential neighborhood. I did on some stretch where it was kind of
nobody around.
Okay to do that.
I'm just concerned that if he only gets like maybe a 4-year prison sentence, that when he gets out, that another team is going to likely say, you know what, we'll give you another chance. And I don't think he's going to get one.
I don't think so, because he denied that he was drinking. He refused all the tests. He denied he was doing all this stuff. Like, if you look at the actual report, it is very, very, very heartbreaking. Like, it is.
But we've seen people who have done vehicular manslaughter get another chance in the NFL.
Well,
there's precedent for it.
Yeah, TMZ had a short clip, and I don't know where they got it from, but apparently when the police came and Ruggs and his girlfriend were kind of sitting on a curb, obviously they're shaken up and they're injured somehow. They're in the background, you can see the other car is on fire. And apparently, I couldn't hear it, but apparently, the poor woman is screaming. And
with her dog.
Ruggs' girlfriend is kind of more concerned about, hey, get over here, we need help. And it's like,
that's a shock thing too.
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's kind of hard to think about anything else when if you're 156 miles an hour and you hit something, I mean, there's gonna be some kind of injury on that.
Yeah.
Changing over here to, well, actually, let's stay one more time with the NFL. So the NFL refs, wouldn't it be great if they weren't so quick to do the whistles and the penalties? I'm thinking about the Monday Night Football. Last name I think is Marsh, right? You get called for taunting when he barely took 2 steps towards Pittsburgh's sideline. These guys, and also these roughing the passer calls where I know they want to protect the quarterback, but they're so quick to throw these flags, and it's like, who was the one who was going out of bounds, and he barely just even touched him. and they just threw the flag. I mean, you think that you could think for just an extra couple of seconds and go, should I throw my flag here? Because you're not going to stop the play by it, right?
Well, Edward, I don't know about you, but I turn into the NFL every Sunday to watch the referees. That's what I do.
and for the referees, if they take a couple seconds, what happens is that, a couple seconds here and a couple seconds there, every play, suddenly the game is an hour longer because, you have, and then people start yelling at the refs and saying, why is it taking you so long to figure out what the call is on this? And the refs already have people breathing down their necks, and they have instant replay to second guess every one of their calls. Being a ref is something I would not want to be in professional football.
So I got a couple stats for you guys.
Okay.
Last season, per game, there's an average of 5.6 penalties. So 5.6 penalties per game in 2020.
That's not bad.
This season, 6.3. It's almost up an entire penalty per game, and that's because of taunting. That's the taunting penalty. We're seeing it called all the time now. It's ridiculous. It's egregious. Just little things like yesterday with the Chicago Bears. A Bears player made a fantastic play, and then he does a little karate kick just because he's celebrating, and then he gets a taunting penalty.
Was that what it was, or did he it was because he started kind of walking towards the Pittsburgh bench and he didn't say anything?
Didn't say anything.
Yeah, I mean, come on. These guys, obviously, if you think about it, you make an exciting play and you're going to celebrate somehow. It's hard to just suddenly put the brakes on and have no excitement. In fact, I remember back in the 60s, in fact, this is probably the first time I can really remember, you guys probably don't remember Elmo Wright, who played for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's the guy who, when he'd make a touchdown, he'd do his knees up and down like this, and then he'd spike the ball. I don't think anybody had ever spiked the ball before. And I don't know if they started calling penalties on him for that to begin with. And later on, they finally said, okay, you can celebrate. It's kind of exciting. But, to try to take all the celebration, what is it? No fun league, right? That's what they call the NFL.
Yeah, the no fun league. And it's funny because you got coaches like Nick Saban and Bill Belichick that are telling their players, you've worked so hard to get this success in a game, you should be able to celebrate it. And if Bill Belichick is saying these things,
is that right?
Yeah,
wow.
You should be able to do it.
Yeah, I guess there's a time. Maybe what you do is you wait to get to your sideline and then jump up and down with your players. But who's going to do that? Excuse me, hold on. I got to take composure of myself and then go to the sidelines and now let it all out. I'm so excited. Okay, guys, here's our second trivia question. NFL first. I reached a major milestone when I became the first quarterback to complete 400 passes in a season. I led the league only 3 times in this category, but still was number 3 all time when I retired in 2000. Who am I? All right, I'll read it one more time. That's our trivia question. I reached a major milestone when I became the first quarterback to complete 400 passes in a season. I led the league only 3 times in this category, but was still number 3 all time when I retired in 2000. Who am I? All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with FPJ, and Russell Jackman. Okay, second trivia question. I reached a major milestone when I became the first quarterback to complete 400 passes in a season. I led the league only 3 times in this category, but still was number 3 all time when I retired in 2000. Who am I? Now, Russ, you said you have a guess?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, FP, you want to give it a shot?
So I was 4 years old. I don't even know. When the year 2000 happened.
By the way, that doesn't stop. Wait till he, uncorks the baseball trivia that goes.
I do know the baseball trivia.
Really, baseball? Okay, because some of my
baseball trivia, but it's not my fault. So
I'm gonna guess Brett Favre.
No. He played past the year 2000.
He retired in 2000.
Okay, so here's a hint. There was a very famous playoff between the Bills and the Houston Oilers, and
Jim Kelly.
No, okay. So when Jim Kelly had gotten hurt, Frank Reich came in and just took over. And Houston.
I remember. I watched that.
I watched that game too. I was reading for Houston. And I kept going, I can't believe these defensive backs are just kind of allowing these touchdowns. This is the playoffs, right? So who was the quarterback for Houston?
Warren Moon.
Warren Moon. That's right.
Oh, okay. And he was a great. Yeah, I remember watching that game and the announcers saying, "Oh, this game is over.
Yeah.
There's no way that Buffalo can come back." And that is what convinced me to keep watching.
Yeah.
The more the announcers said, "This game is over. You're never gonna come back from this." I was like,
it was something crazy, like 30-3 by halftime.
Yeah, 35-3, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't Warren's fault because he did well. It was Houston's defensive backs. It just totally just looked.
And Kelly went on I mean, Craig went on fire. He was he had one of the games of his life. He looked a lot like Colt McCoy against the 49ers.
You mean Frank, right? Yeah, he who's now, I guess, what, Indianapolis's coach, right? So Frank, yeah, if you watch the highlights of that, I mean, he just came out of nowhere, and I think he threw 4 touchdowns like really quickly. It was incredible. Best comeback ever, I think. Okay, so Monday night, our hometown Steph Curry, he only scored 50 points, and he's 33 years old. But if you look at him, looks like he's kind of getting bigger and stronger. How many more years do you think he's got? He looks like like LeBron. You know, he just kind of kept getting better and better as he aged. What do you think?
You know, it's funny that you bring this up, Edward, because I was thinking about this last night. 33 years old now. I think he's probably got 2 or 3 more years of his prime before it starts to really decline, and then maybe he becomes a bench player if he wants to. Or I would imagine Steph Curry is such a legend, though. He's going to go out on his own terms, and he's going to retire when he knows there's a decline to start. But what's really interesting is he's got averaging 27.6 points per game right now. And he's 38% from 3, which is actually some of the lowest 3-point percentage shooting in his career. So he's actually driving to the paint a lot more, which is just absurd.
And as you get older, don't you kind of stay away from the paint?
He did shoot 19 3-point shots last night. So yes, he is putting it on the floor, but 19 3-point shots is not exactly shy from beyond the arc.
How many did he make? Of the 19?
I think he had 50 points last night, so I think he made 9 out of those 19.
Yeah, I believe it was 9. What's really interesting, though, is like technology, of course, and how it's developing. And I don't know if you guys saw the story about Steph Curry and how he's using technology to make the perfect 3.
No.
So this entire
I was going to bring that up, FP. That's actually really interesting.
Go ahead,
yeah, I totally checked that out, and it's amazing. When they said that they don't count baskets in practice for him if he hits the rim or doesn't get it right through as a swish. He doesn't count that as a basket.
Yeah, so they have this technology that if it doesn't go right in the center of the hoop and doesn't have a perfect swish, it doesn't count as a 3 in the practice. So he's been using precise can get precision on his 3-point shooting to try to make it better. And so far, it's not good. But a lot of people are also talking about the NBA ball being different, too, and affecting shooters as well.
Interesting. Well, I remember hearing, this is going back probably 20 years, there was a study done as to the perfect arc, right? Because there's some guys, and in fact, even when you see him like at the free throw line, can't remember who I was thinking of, who he just kind of like throws a line drive. And it's like, that's a terrible way to make a free throw. You know, you have to have like this great arc so it goes right through the middle. Then you have a little bit more chance to rattle it anyway. So
you know who had the perfect arc in basketball, in my opinion?
Larry Bird.
No, Chris Mullin.
Oh,
Chris Mullin had the parabolic shot that just would just go right through the bottom of the basket just about every time he shot. He never used the rim either. He was one guy that would just managed to plink stuff because he was so accurate. And the only guy I can think of now that's that way is Curry, because he just absolutely is a perfectionist. That's why I think he's going to be able to play into, his late 30s.
Late 30s, yeah.
Because he will eventually just be able to stand out from the outside and let the young guys do the driving. You see a guy like Poole now, becoming more of a factor in the scoring for the Warriors, and Curry doesn't have the pressure to have to, score 50 points a game, but he can when he needs to.
Well,
I just think about, sorry to interrupt you, Edward. I just think about him and how physical he is when he drives to the hole and he always falls down and he's little bit injury prone.
Yeah.
And those injuries are just going to keep on piling up as he gets older.
Well,
He
that's
can't play
true.
the same style of basketball that he plays now. So that's what
I
I
wonder
He hasn't really been hurt by any of those things. I mean, not for, a number of games. He had the hand injury and of course the ankle injury, but it hasn't really come from his driving so much as it is, guys whacking him as anywhere he
or stepping on
plays.
someone's
'Cause-
foot, to turn an ankle. Yeah, in fact,
Yes.
I wonder if they're going to change the rules for him, to say, listen, if you don't swish it, we're going to take that 3-point away.
to make it fair.
That's it. You know what? I'm still. I think what would be kind of cool is we talked about this a couple of years ago. I think they should have a 4-point play. I mean, forget getting fouled on a 3-point, but a 4-point shot. And just make it again. You make it an extra amount from beyond the arc, which he can hit no problem. But I think it just adds a little more excitement to the game because you get a little too close in the score, and that 4 points, you make a couple of those, and that could really change the game.
It could. Why not? Let's do it. I think
Yeah.
they did it in the Ice Cube's 3v3 league. So
Good point. Good point. Hey guys, Ben Simmons saga. I mean, it sounds like it's all this mental thing, and it's like that's a great way to kind of, hey, I can't.
Who's Ben Simmons?
Yeah.
well, hold on. We have to.
I'm kidding, but it's
We have to get into the sports econ of it, though. He's getting fined $360,000 per game he misses.
Wow.
$360,000. So think about all the problems you might have because of money, and this guy is throwing away $360,000 per game to just have a petty war with the 76ers. Crazy.
And he's ruined his trade value. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of teams now are scared off of trying to pick up a guy who has such a bad attitude problem. As a Warriors fan, I thought, in the offseason, he might make a great addition to the Warriors. But now, A, they don't need him, and B, I don't think they want someone that's so poisonous in the locker room, even though you're talking about a number 1 overall pick and a guy who's been a defensive all-teamer and an all-star.
Well, again, it's sort of like the Odell
he has
Beckham
no
thing.
trade
we're talking
value.
about.
Yeah, he has no value, even though he's accomplished all those things.
Again, it's these young guys. They just, they sort of think they're invincible, and they're invaluable.
Well, listen, this day and age with technology, you're primed up to be the greatest thing ever. You have coaches in your ear telling you how good you are your entire life. You have your parents telling you how good you are in your entire life. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. And finally, when it happens at the top level because you've excelled. We have a culture that teaches to coddle people, and that's just how it is right now. And then social media happens, and you post your highlights, and people like it, and it's very self-fulfilling. It's gratification instantly, and you're like, oh wow, I'm really good. I'm like this person. I'm God, essentially.
Yeah.
And you're seeing this a lot with young athletes, and you have to treat these athletes a lot differently now. And the first sign of adversity happens, they crumble. And we're seeing it through every single sport right now. And it's just how it is these days. So how do you fix that? I don't know, but
Go back to the parents and how they're raised.
yeah,
How
I
the
guess.
parents raised them. I mean, if you think about 75 years ago, a new player comes on the team, and they make you do stuff that's sort of like, the freshman on the team type of thing.
Exactly. That just doesn't happen anymore. There's no hazing. There's no, fun hazing, not the
I know what you mean.
bad kind.
Yeah.
But I mean, the rumors are like the Celtics are interested. You think it's going to be better in Boston? No chance.
No way. No, you'd have to go to like Oklahoma City or maybe Charlotte or I don't know.
Even then, this is the National Basketball Association. This is like the big leagues. This is it.
And
You gotta be
it's
able
funny,
to-
it circles around a little bit back to the Aaron Rodgers discussion where you said, Aaron Rodgers has this pass where, he could possibly have infected hundreds of people, and maybe even people wind up dying from his actions. Yet, everyone says he's welcome to come back as soon as his COVID time, suspension is over. But a guy like Ben Simmons won't take a shot in a fourth quarter in a playoff game, and he's absolute poison, and no one wants to touch him. So it is really interesting.
I don't think he has the golden ticket like Aaron Rodgers. When I think of the
No,
NBA,
he doesn't.
No way.
Yeah, and who has the golden
No.
ticket in the NBA? That's LeBron. Obviously, LeBron can do no
And
wrong.
Steph.
He can do anything.
And Steph, I think.
I
It's
remember
like Steph Curry.
I remember Bruce McGowan telling us a story about this. I can't remember which player it was, but it was there was the coach it was during practice, and the coach was trying to tell this player, what to do. And the player just looked at him and he says, "I'm not listening to you." He goes, "You're going to be gone in a week." And sure enough, the coach was gone in a week. So that's when players started to have a little bit more power. I think it's kind of scary when, your employees can tell other employees, what to do. Go ahead.
Well, think about this from an organizational structure, sports econ 101, right?
Yes.
You have the coach that's making what, like a good high level coach. The NBA is making like $1 million or $2 million a year, right? And then you have
Not anymore. Now they're more like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think they're
earning around
more than
4 or
4, but
5.
go ahead.
4 or 5, okay? Compared to NBA players that are making what, like 20 million a year?
20.
Some of
Yeah,
them,
which is ridiculous.
Yes.
If you look at every single sport, the coaches typically make far less money than the players. So as coaching staff, or as the players rather, why would you listen to coaching staff besides getting playing time? That's pretty much it.
That's it. Well, also
Michael
like
Jordan.
in business, the guys who make the most money is sales. So when I was doing a lot of insurance work, I knew guys who were making $1 million a year selling insurance, and the CEO was probably making $200,000 a year, and he was the boss. That's the way it happens. Hey guys, we're gonna move
Michael
on to
Jordan sort of set the pace when he didn't like Doug Collins and got him fired for Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
That is sort of, and because that was so successful, a lot of teams have turned around and said, well, if it worked for Michael Jordan, and pleasing Michael Jordan, got them 6 championships.
Yeah.
We got to please our star too, and put whatever coach he wants in, and in that sense, the star player is more like the GM than the GM is.
That's true. Okay, hey, going to go to our third trivia question here. Which running back was the first to run for 20+ rushing touchdowns? I assume we mean in a season. All right, that's our trivia question. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back with some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with FP Santangelo Jr. and Russell Jackman. Question, guys. Which running back was the first to run for 20+ rushing touchdowns?
I'm going to guess LT, LaDainian Tomlinson.
No. I'll give you a hint.
I'm going to go back further.
He was a Washington Redskin.
Oh, I don't know.
Was it Riggins?
It was John Riggins. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. I needed a hint. Though.
You know what's really sad, guys? I can't even put faces to these names. I really don't. I don't know.
It's funny. He was good. He had like the big one was when he in the Super Bowl when he just ran over the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. But other than that, it's like, he had a good career. He was kind of a cowboy type guy. Like who was the one for the Cowboys many years ago? You did 2 in the bag. Which no, with Roger Staubach.
Emmett Smith.
No, way back. All right, guys. Well, I'll think about that. But here's our thoughts for the day. What do you call a caveman who walks about aimlessly?
FP.
No,
a Cro-Magnon
Neanderthal.
Neanderthal.
And what's the difference between ignorance and apathy? I don't know.
I don't know.
And I don't care.
I don't care.
All right, there we go. We got a smile out of FP. Okay, that's the objective, is to get a smile out of FP. All right,
one of us.
And since Russell's calling in, we can't see if he's laughing or can't see his smile, but we'll trust that it's there. All right, guys, tune in, audience. Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We'll be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
So long.